We have been seeing everywhere that 2026 is the analog year. And so what is it? What does it mean? How does it impact your brand? And if everyone is going offline, what does it mean for you as someone who's consistently creating content online, whether it's for your business as a female founder or if you're a creator or an influencer? So let's talk about how it's actually being implemented, how you can start thinking about it in terms of your content, and why people are shifting into this direction to begin with. The analog year is essentially choosing tactical offline experiences on purpose in order to kind of just escape like the digital doom scroll that people are tired of being part of. This doesn't necessarily mean that people are deleting all of the apps and disappearing from the internet. They are just intentionally deciding how to be online in a very thoughtful way and what do they want to be doing when they're offline instead of just doom scrolling on their phone. So it's essentially replacing, instead of thinking of default digital, we're just replacing that with intentional digital. And when I see trends like this come up, it honestly comes at no surprise because there are always these hidden signs and signals that something like this is bound to happen. In 2025, we saw a lot of content aesthetics that relied on things that were physical. The digital scrapbooking, the Polaroid pictures, the papers and the files and the folders. People were replicating these physical things from real life and putting it in a post, in a carousel, or in some sort of content format. We're also seeing pieces of this when it comes to campaign marketing. Like I'm thinking about this one specific trend with like the massive sized receipt that someone can pose next to, and like again taking something physical and changing it into something from a content perspective that can like wow people, get their attention and allow them to consume it. And when I actually think about the analog year, I don't necessarily think it's anti-content or anti-technology. I actually think it supports presence and supports being online, because now when you are online, you are just very intentional about what it is that you're consuming, who it is that you're following, and what is it that you want to be doing when you are online. So I feel like digital fatigue is finally impacting how people's day-to-day lifestyles are. And instead of opting in for, again, just scrolling on the internet, people want to do something else. People are trying to figure out how to make their work from home space better. People are trying to figure out what they want to do in their home overall to make it more productive, more interactive, more peaceful for their mind. I'm seeing people create routines where they leave their phone in the kitchen before they go to bed. I'm seeing people that are creating a space where they don't allow their phone, which brings me to thinking of something that could replace the doom scrolling. People now more than ever are wanting to start up hobbies and interests that can allow them to be offline. This can look like crafting or coloring, doing some sort of athletic hobby. There's this trend called the analog bag, where essentially you're creating a bag instead of doom scrolling and going to your phone and reaching for something. You are literally going into this bag and pulling out crafts and ideas. Kind of, I'm thinking of it like literally giving a toddler something to do whenever they're bored. It's having that same idea. So thinking about, is there a closet, a cabinet, a place in your home that you can fill up with those kind of ideas so that whenever you want to go on your phone and doom scroll, you reach for something else instead. And again, this could be something like crafting and scrapbooking and putting things together that are very highly aesthetic, but this could also mean doing a crossword, reading a book, seeing a friend, and actually interacting with hobbies outside of your home. And this is bringing me to kind of like thinking of what is like that AI replacement in terms of human connection, especially now with AI that you can literally like talk to ChatGPT or Claude or whoever and literally get that like kind of social exchange back and forth. People are wanting and craving human connection. We're seeing more brands wanting to do pop-ups in real life, documenting community, because now that feels like a privilege. Now that feels like something high-end that not everyone has access to. And so with this rise, people are also wanting to partake in activities, not just outside of their home, but involving other people. Even if this is something that requires simple activities, people just crave human connection, meeting new people, and wanting to do those experiences together. And of course, as things become ran by AI and things are more polished and put together and curated at the speed of light, people are also craving this type of content that is a little bit more imperfect, unpolished, and really showing kind of the human day-to-day side. I mentioned this in my other video talking about like this grand millennial aesthetic, but I noticed how many people are just tired of the massive influencer hauls, the same influencers going on the same like kind of pipeline when they make more money. And what they are actually seeking comfort with is creators who don't necessarily drastically change and forget about them and resent their audience once they've grown. And when I say creators, I also mean brands, entrepreneurs, but places that they feel safe online, places that they feel like is helping them develop a different way of thinking and a different thought perspective instead of just like throwing information at them and selling at them 24/7. So what does the analog year actually look like online, and how are influencers, brands, creators, entrepreneurs implementing this? The thing is, people are are romanticizing analog life, but actually on the internet. So they are still documenting what they are doing offline, and people think that they're not being present or they're not being online, but this only takes a couple of seconds to create. So for example, if you're sitting down working on a 3-hour craft, you only need 10 seconds of you documenting that to add that to your vlog and do a voiceover. So it's a good start to using these analog rituals and routines as part of your content. We're seeing people do Sunday resets where they're just cleaning their home, they're just running errands, they're just doing the mundane lifestyle day-to-day things. That is on the rise, and what is going to come with that is just knowing how to better articulate what it is that you're trying to say and what your message is. It's no longer enough to just say, I woke up, I'm running errands, I'm going to get groceries, I'm cleaning my house. People want to know, why is that matter to them? How is that interesting for them? What is the perspective shift you want to offer to them? What is something you can give them that they can take out of this kind of piece of content? Especially with people being more intentional about being online, they are going to be more selective on the brands that they support, the creators that they follow, the entrepreneurs that they buy from. And so you want to make sure you're creating an experience that allows for them to see what you're creating is valuable and not just like online waste. People are also filming imperfect media and like putting that online. So putting together things from like a day-to-day lifestyle. And we're seeing that with coffee spills, and we're seeing that with like a morning routine captured, but in terms of a photo, kind of just like elements from your day-to-day instead of just captured in a video and being online for the entire time during that process, is just capturing a photo that encompasses the feeling, the vibe, what was going on, and adding that there. And hobby content. So going back to this like grand millennial aesthetic that I talked about in a separate video, but like what are these like kind of grandma hobbies that people are wanting to fall back to and learn from? Thinking about painting and pottery and scrapbooking and knitting and so many other things that I could think of. And they are still having these like phone-free moments, like a phone-free morning, phone-free weekend, phone-free dinner, but they are still talking about how that has impacted their life, even though they're not documenting it because they are phone-free. So they're creating these essentially like intentional digital boundaries. And this is why I'm saying people are going to be a little bit more selective on who they're going to want to see on their feed, especially now with the algorithm pushing a lot of content from people you don't even follow. They're going to know that the people that they follow really, really matter because this actually impacts what they see on the rest of their feed. So does this mean that people are not consuming content? Does this mean people are going to just like stop engaging with content? Are we going to see content engagement drop? And that's not necessarily the case. Like I said, they're just being more intentional with the content that they consume. They want content that calms down their nervous system. They want content that makes them feel something and feel something that they actually want to feel. They want content that also feels tactile and real. If you are recording something, they want to feel like you are someone that they can connect with, that they are friends with, that they can actually find not just inspiration from, but connection with too. They want to also see content that helps them live better offline. They want to see content, again, not just like how to for their hobbies, but again, allowing them to shift their thoughts and perspective and allows them to give something interesting that they can use even after they've consumed your content. And they really want content that feels like a relationship, not just a billboard. They are tired of feeling taken advantage of and feeling like they're only being sold to or only being presented something when the creator, the entrepreneur wants something to be bought from. Instead, they want to feel like this is a mutual relationship where they will buy from you, they will use your affiliate links, they will buy your offers and services, but in return, they want to see that you're also showing up during the times where you're not just directly selling them something. So now, if you want to find a way to kind of implement your own analog here, start thinking about what are the offline things that you actually want to capture and put online. So thinking about books or planners or any part of your routine that, again, you can document for a couple of seconds, take a picture with, or even if you want to just document and like do on your own and still be present in that moment, but record yourself during the process. You can also go through the process of batching digitally. So you can decide to dedicate 1 to 2 days a week where you are working on your content and have all of the other days be offline, phone free, without the doom scrolling. Also thinking about how to shift from like a volume content approach to a series approach. What if you think about your content that is more monthly or weekly and has a theme or a pattern to it, or has some sort of breakthrough at the end of it, instead of just focusing on producing lots of random pieces of content that don't have a clear tie together. And then finally, thinking about how can you actually build campaigns campaigns that have these offline outcomes. So thinking about not just how this is going to benefit someone who works online, does their stuff online, but also how is this going to make their offline life easier to live. So thinking about what challenges can you do, what aesthetic updates can you do, how can you start thinking about your content strategy and content routine a little bit differently, and how do you want to involve your community as part of kind of this change that you want to go through. And before we end this video, make sure to check out the resources I have for you in the description on how to create better content and better campaigns in a way that truly works for your brand and helps you meet your marketing goals. I'll see you in the next video.